Ladies and gentlemen of the media, good morning. And this morning I will present to you the matters and issues which were dealt with at Cabinet at its meeting of May 30th, 2017. His Excellency President David Granger informed Cabinet of his decision to accept an invitation of Mr. Jean-Claude Juncker, President of the European Commission, the executive arm of the European Union, to attend the European Development Day, EDD 2017 conference that will be convened by the European Commission in Brussels, Belgium, from June 7th to 8th, 2017. The EDD 2017, which will have as its main focus investing in development, with special emphasis in three cross-cutting themes. These are the private sector, gender, equality, and youth, and will bring together leaders and decision makers to share analyses, shape best practices, map priorities, and strengthen the synergies between the economic, social, and environmental aspects of development. His Excellency will address the opening ceremony of the conference, participate in a high-level panel towards a new EU partnership with ACP countries, and also address a special session of the ACP Committee of Ambassadors. Vice President and Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Carl Greenidge, will accompany His Excellency. The Honorable Minister of Finance briefed Cabinet about the staff report on Guyana 2017 Article 4 consultation and the Financial Sector Stability Assessment, FSSA, that was considered by the Board of the Executive Directors of the International Monetary Fund on May 24th, 2017. The Honorable Minister reported that the directors commended the sound macroeconomic policies of Guyana, which helped to realize healthy growth and to keep debt levels on a sustainable path. They were very supportive of the actions currently being implemented with regards to fiscal accounts, including value-added tax reform and initiatives to improve tax administration. Directors also welcomed Guyana's plan to establish an appropriate fiscal framework for oil revenues and the plan to establish a sovereign wealth fund. The directors also agreed that the medium to long-term prospects for Guyana were positive and encouraged the continued implementation of strong policies that will engender debt and fiscal sustainability while facilitating inclusive growth. Guyana's actions, which led to its removal from the CFATF process, were also commended, while the stabilization in correspondent bank relationships, withdrawals was also noted. Cabinet noted the general positive outcome and outlook of the executive directors in their discussions on Guyana. Cabinet has approved the appointment of His Excellency Mr. Javier Sanchez as non-resident ambassador for the Kingdom of Spain to Guyana. Guyana and the Kingdom of Spain established diplomatic relations in October of 1979 and have cooperated in areas of capacity building and projects through the CARICOM-Spain joint commissions, such as the establishment of peas and rice cultivation under the Food Security for indigenous communities of the Rupununi savannas. It is expected that the appointment of His Excellency Ambassador Javier Sanchez, who will be resident in Trinidad and Tobago, will lead to a strengthening of relations between Guyana and the Kingdom of Spain. Cabinet approved attendance of the Vice President and Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs at the 29th meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the Organization of American States that was held in Washington, United States of America on the 31st of May 2017. In fact, the Foreign Minister, I recall seeing him on the floor at the conference in Washington at the OS at 2 o'clock the afternoon before Cabinet. And at the time of Cabinet's meeting, there was the Foreign Minister. Cabinet approved the hosting of the 6th meeting of the Guyana-Brazil Frontier Committee and the 5th meeting of the Guyana-Brazil Group on Consular Cooperation to be held on June 5th and 6th, 2017 in Lethem, Region Number 9. The Guyana-Brazil Frontier Committee was established on September 14, 2009 with the signature of a Memorandum of Understanding between the two countries on the occasion of the inauguration of the Takatu River Bridge. This mechanism was established to advance the process of integration by nurturing the development of the population within the frontier communities. The issues to address under the mechanism relate to cooperation between communities on the border between Guyana and Brazil in the areas of health, education, water management, animal and agricultural surveillance, trafficking and violence against women, indigenous issues, and public security. The meeting which was last held in Bonfim in February 2016, will see Guyana's delegation being led by Ambassador Audrey Waddell Jardine. Approval has been granted for Guyana's participation in a CARICOM Counterterrorism Strategy Conference to be held in Trinidad and Tobago from June 12 to 13, 2017. The conference, to be convened by the CARICOM Implementation Agency for Crime and Security, popularly known as IMPACS, in collaboration with the European Union, will finalize the CARICOM counterterrorism strategy, which will guide CARICOM member states in their efforts to address terrorism and violent extremism. Assistant Commissioner David Ramnarine and Superintendent Brian Eastman of the Guyana Police Force will attend the conference. Guyana will participate in a meeting of national drug observatories of member countries of the Community of Latin America and Caribbean States, CELAC, to be convened in San Jose, Costa Rica, from July 4th to the 5th, 2017. National drug observatories were created in CELAC member countries through a cooperation program in drug policies, a partnership mechanism between the European Union and CELAC. They provide an integrated system of collecting drug indicators on production, consumption, trafficking, and associated crimes to effect policy to reduce supply and demand. Mr. Courtney Samuels, head of the Policy Research and Crime Observatory of the Ministry of Public Health, will attend the conference. Guyana will participate in the second workshop on the Integrated Map of South America project to be held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, from June 5th to the 9th, 2017. The workshop will be part of ongoing works to develop a digital integrated map of countries of South America. The Ghana delegation to the workshop will comprise Mr. Nazim Nazir, Manager of Land Information and Mapping Division, and Mr. David Cole, Manager of Information Systems Division, both of the Ghana Lands and Surveys Commission, and Mrs. Donette Street of the Frontiers Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Approval has been granted for attendance at a European Union Caribbean ACP State CARIFORUM sponsored capacity building project to be held in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago from June 5th to 6, 2017. The project is aimed at capacity building in the areas of public procurement and customs and trade facilitation. Mr. Gavin Lowe, Senior Manager of the Communication and Tax Advisory Services Division of the GRA, and Mrs. Christina Singh of the National Procurement and Tender Board Administration will participate in the project. Approval was granted for the attendance at a regional seminar on measurement of social expenditure to be held in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago from June 7 to the 8th, 2017. The seminar that will be convened by the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, in collaboration with the German Development Agency for International Cooperation, will raise awareness regarding the concepts, methods, and classifications which are used to produce statistics on social expenditure. Mrs. Verna Adrian of the Fiscal and Monetary Division of the Ministry of Finance will attend this seminar. Cabinet noted the award of contracts by the procurement entities and the National Procurement and Tender Administration Board as follows. For the construction and rehabilitation of urban roads in Region 4, lot number 3, Caneview Avenue between Penny Lane and Fern Drive, South Brimvelt, Georgetown, contracted in a sum of $21,371,000, awarded to Associated Construction Services. Lot 4, Danwood Street, Newtown, Kitty, a contract in the sum of $26,136,000, awarded to Shiraz Bacchus, General Contractor. Lot 5, Front Road, Block E, Sapphire, for the sum of $41,530,000, contract awarded to S. Jagmohan Hardware Supplies and Construction Services. Lot 6, Plum Park Road, Network, Sapphire, for the sum of $41,336,000, contract awarded to H. Knott and Son. Lot 7, Section K, Campbellville Road, Network, for the sum of $27,540,000, contract awarded to Excel Engineering. For D-Field Main Access Phase 2 continuation, and that is Sapphire, the contract in the sum of $56,164,000, awarded to BK International Inc. For the construction and rehabilitation of urban roads in region number 6, lot number 2, Middle Street, Princeton, Corriverton, in the sum of $21,263,000, contract award to Sims General Contracting Inc. Lot number 3, Second Cross Street, Rose Hall, SOPR, for the sum of $30,451,000, a contract awarded to Dennis Dahal Engineering. Lot number 4, Republican King Street, Phase 2, New Amsterdam, Berbice, contract in the sum of $19,235,000, awarded to Sims General Contractors Inc. Lot number 5, Main Street, Phase 1, New Amsterdam, for the sum of $19,981,000, The contract awarded to Associated Contractor Construction Services. For the construction and rehabilitation of urban roads in region number 7, lot 1, the main access road, 4-mile housing scheme, Bartica. Contract in the sum of $30,004,000 awarded to KP Thomas and Sons Contracting Inc. Lot number 2, Mungripper Hill Road Network, Bartica. A contract in the sum of $23,886,000 awarded to Bardon Construction Services. Lot number 3, the Front Road by the Rabo, Bartica. A contract in the sum of $38,503,000 awarded to Excel Engineering. For the procurement of cargo X-ray machines for the Chedijagan International Airport Corporation, a contract in the sum of $230,000 awarded to L3 Community Security and Detection System. For the procurement of CCTV surveillance systems for the Guyana prisons, a contract in the sum of $25,719,000 awarded to NT Computech. For the construction and delivery of school furniture to secondary schools and the Practical Instructional Center in Georgetown, a contract in the sum of $15,713,000 awarded to the Guyana Technical Institute, the Government Technical Institute. For the consultancy for the design of civil works for the construction of 3 general secondary schools, and this is an increase on the previous sum that was awarded, an increase of $47,000 awarded to VICAB Engineering Consultants and LLBA Architects Limited and JIN Consultants Trinidad Limited. For the design and supervision of civil works under the University of Guyana Science and Technology Support Project from $377,000 to $384,000, an increase of $7,000, a contract that had previously been awarded to Idea Italy and RPA Rossi Prodi Associate Italy. Finally, for the empoldering of farmlands in Kabakaburi, Upper Pomeroon Region number 2, contract in the sum of $15,766,000 awarded to Rupan Ramutar Investments. And for the construction of an infantry accommodation, Block 1, Camp Stevenson, Timeri, Guyana Defense Force, a contract in the sum of $72,814,000 awarded to 5 building and contracting works. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the matters that were dealt with at Cabinet and the noting of contracts awarded by the procurement entities. I'm now prepared to take your questions.
Dennis Waves, Minister, could you shed some light on why the apparent reluctance by government not to release the contract between itself and the ExxonMobil, that's Guyana and ExxonMobil? And could you say, given the state of the economy at this time and the need for a stimulus, whether there are any plans to access revenues ahead of the commencement of oil production in 2020?
Well, those are 2 questions. The last one I can say, we are advised, in fact, we are being advised by the experts in this area and the Minister of Natural Resources in that regard, and in that case, Cabinet has not fully deliberated on that matter and has no firm conclusions on it. In relation to the question of the oil license, I refer you to a release made by Minister Trotman this morning, which basically dealt with Guyana is expected to grant a production license to ESSO exploration and production. In fact, the statement which is out in the media already, for those who have not actually read that statement, I will extract some important aspects out of the statement. It said basically that the Minister of Natural Resources, Raphael Trotman, had said that the government is still in the process of finalizing ExxonMobil's production license, and he disclosed that government would make a pronouncement on the matter in a few weeks. Following that is a statement which was released this morning, and it says that following reviews of the technical and environmental aspects of the LISA project development plan that was submitted by ESSO Exploration and Production Guyana Limited in December 2016, the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana is expected to grant a production license to ExxonMobil for production of petroleum to move ahead in 2020. While placing emphasis on Guyanese employment and training, the procurement of goods and services in Guyana, infrastructural soundness, and the protection of the environment, the production license is required to be finalized before the developers make their final investment decision for the project in June 2017. Extraction from the LISA field is expected to commence in 2020 at an initial rate of 100,000 barrels of crude per day in the first phase, with a floating production storage and offloading vessel providing the main infrastructural support for the project. The government and people of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana will receive a royalty of 2% on gross earnings and benefit from 50% of the profits from the sale of petroleum once production commences. The Ministry of Natural Resources and other ministries and agencies are actively pursuing a number of undertakings on the policy, legislative, and infrastructure sides to ensure that the country is prepared for the coming oil production. As this ministry, along with others, seeks to develop our oil and gas industry in a sustainable and profitable manner, citizens are encouraged to continue to provide their feedback and recommendations on the new sector when the ministry outreaches visit their communities. Following consideration by Cabinet, the finding of the various reports will be released.
Minister, with all due respect to you, sir, is talking with the production sharing agreement between Exxon and Guyana. When will that be disclosed?
This is as much as I can say on the matter. As I said, the last statement by the minister is that following consideration by the Cabinet, the findings of the various reports, which I suppose will include that as well, will be released.
Okay, you'll now have Adam Harris, followed by Roy and James, and then...
Adam Harris, find you, sir. Sir, you said Minister Jordan was in Washington and he was discussing economic issues with the forum there. Back in Guyana, the word is that the economy is sliding. Are we hearing from two different hymn books?
Well, I suppose you probably are, because the word from Minister Jordan is the position of the government. The word that he reported on the meeting of the IMF is a review of the economic conditions and the state of the economy. And I suppose the word on the street, which is, as our president usually says, that the general public, that it's a statement that is made by persons who you cannot specifically pinpoint, and they do not specifically bring the data which support some of the conclusions that they're making. I am firmly of the belief that our Minister of Finance has adequately dealt with that matter about the state of the economy, and I am firmly of the view as well that he will continue to make statements in this regard with respect to the economy and where we are with that.
The first question is, one of the highlights of the 2015 elections, the campaign promise was moving away from one-party politics, one-party take all politics. Now, first question is, after 2 years of commission reporting and all these things, did the coalition found any person or persons who you're willing to take into the fold? That's one. And the second question is, Minister, the Commons Board of Court provides for, let's say, 60-40% sharing, that's in ministerial positions. So if you're willing to take persons from the opposition into the coalition, what position or positions, or at what level is the government prepared to accommodate them? And secondly,
That's his third question.
no, it's two questions in one.
Yes.
Do you believe things went too far last weekend when the 21 Chilipao miners were arrested at the Kaieteur National Park?
Okay. Well, first let me deal with the first question invites a very high level of speculation about positions and so on, because it is not something that we have contemplated. We have said, yes, that we're against one party. And I can see that the coalition is a coalition of 6 parties already. Coalition of 6 parties. And those 6 parties span the length and breadth of this country. Yes, at the elections in 2015, there was a certain percentage of the votes which we got. And since then, we've actively campaigned. We've actually reached out to all communities in this country. And there are persons who've actually were probably on the other side that have started working with us at the level of the communities. And we welcome those persons who are prepared to work with the government in moving forward the development of this country. The second question on Kaieteur National Park. Kaieteur National Park is a protected area. It is part of the protected area system of Guyana, and one which we are proud of and which we are known for internationally. In the 2011 Protected Areas Commission bill, and which subsequently became an act, there were certain provisions that were made in that act. And since then, the protected area was clearly demarcated. And so, since that time, since we came into office, this has been our second operation to expel illegal mining from the Kaieteur National Park. Mining is not one of the activities permitted under the law in that area. There are other sustainable forms of livelihood which are permitted, but clearly mining and other extractive activities are not contemplated within a protected area. And so once people go into the area and they mine in the area, it is our responsibility of the state to ensure that they are removed. And we did so last year, I believe. In fact, on the last occasion, a policeman lost his life in doing that. On this occasion, the mining became more extensive, and therefore the persons who were mining there illegally were subjected to the laws of Guyana. And that is why that occurred. The important thing to note, however, in that operation is that these persons who were found there were not the managers of the dredges or the owners of the dredges. And I am making a public call for those operators, those dredge owners, those dredge managers to come into us. Come into us and let us talk to you. Because clearly that is not the way to go. If there's an issue with mining areas and so on, discuss it with GGMC. But do not go into protected areas and mine. That is unlawful. And so it is unfortunate that these residents of the areas surrounding the Kaieteur National Park, that they're the ones that were arrested and brought out. But there's no exception. Once you are mining, you are caught mining in those areas, whoever you are, you will be arrested. And that is the position of the government.
Sir, they claim they got license from GGMC. I saw some licenses to that effect.
any license that will get granted for mining within a protected area is unlawful. You cannot grant a license for mining in a protected area. There's no provision in the law for that.
Minister Harmon, Tanika Principal Staff. Your government has announced that the intention to hold a public referendum on whether or not the buggery law should be repealed. Could you explain to us the background to this decision as to why and when it was decided, and give us an idea as to the process? As is there a budget in place and a timeline in place for this referendum?
Well, let's start based on your first premise that the government made an announcement. The government did not make an announcement on this matter. What I can say to you is that the last official position on this matter was made clear by His Excellency the President in January of 2017. Right? And the President basically said that a question was posed to him on LGBT rights and so on. And he said that as a government, we are prepared to respect the rights of any individual to indulge in practices which is not harmful to others. The President noted in the said article that it is not an issue of which had been ventilated at the level of cabinet. And that is the position until now. This is not an issue that had been ventilated at cabinet, and cabinet has made no decision on that matter. And so the question of a referendum, when it occurred and all of that, that is really not on the cards.
Follow-up? Yeah. Just a little clarification then. Mr. Brennan has publicly made a statement about the referendum. Are you saying that he was speaking in his own capacity, outside of the government capacity?
What is the statement that you are alleging that Minister Greenwich made? When did he make this statement? I believe sometimes that we must be very clear on things before we create a certain expectation or hysteria. Minister Greenwich responded to a report or to a requirement for information by an international body, which he said that in the event that these issues about LGBT rights were concerned, that the thing to do is to go to a referendum. And the referendum is the highest level of consultation in any country. The referendum is the highest level of consultation. And so you can't get it better than that. But what I'm saying to you is that this is not that the government has taken a decision to hold a referendum on LGBT rights. Right? So this is the position of the cabinet, that it was not a matter which had been ventilated at the level of cabinet, and therefore it is not something which our citizens ought to become worried about.
Two questions. The first, the President of the U.S. has announced that he will be pulling out of COP21. Guyana has committed to seeing that process through. What is your reaction to that announcement, and how do you think it affects climate change globally? Secondly, it's over 2 weeks now or so that there was a public presentation on the feasibility of a refinery. Has Cabinet reviewed that feasibility study, and where does it stand now?
Well, first of all, on a refinery, cabinet has not reviewed that matter as yet. As Minister Trotman said, that we are listening to advice where consultations are taking place. Experts will come and say this, and experts will say that. Some foreign experts will tell you, don't do it. Some local experts will tell you, yes, let's do it. So we have to take on board all of the advice that's given, and then at the appropriate time, the minister will bring a memorandum to cabinet upon which we will cogitate and make a decision that is in the best interest of the people of Guyana. The other issue about COP, about the Paris Agreement on climate change, it's unfortunate that that position has been taken by the United States because the rest of the world is going in a certain direction. In fact, President Granger had the distinction of being the first head of state to sign on to the Paris Agreement, for the distinction. Guyana is committed to its obligations under the Paris Agreement. Only 2 days ago, I believe it was, at a conference at the Ramada, the East Bank, conference on climate change and the question of national adaptation processes. I believe a representative from the global community and the Caribbean climate change spoke about this matter, Mr. Michael Sweeney, and he also said that it will be unfortunate if the U.S. were to go in that direction, but that we believe that the force of the global change, the force of the global push in this regard, will see us overcoming the effects of a withdrawal of the United States of America from this process.
One quick follow-up.
Mhm.
On the COP, this is a voluntary agreement. A country as big as the U.S. pulling out. Do you foresee it triggering a pull-out by other smaller countries who committed to it?
Well, what I can say, I don't let me speculate. Don't invite me to speculate because I cannot speak for any other country other than my own. And I'm saying that we are committed to it. We've actually seen the impact which global warming can have, with the effects of climate change. Only 2 weeks ago, in Region 7 and Region 8, we had situations where, for the first time in 10 or 12 years, people had seen water levels so high in those communities. And so while on the coast, some of us can look at global warming and climate change as some concept, to many people in our hinterland, it is a way of life. They've actually come around to understanding that climate change will affect their daily lives and their livelihood. So we are committed to it. And as I said, many of the countries who have actually signed on to it, they did so voluntarily. And whether they stay or they go will be a matter of choice for them. But it's really a serious matter of concern for us. And we are committed to it. We are committed to the benefits which also accrue under that Paris Agreement.
Minister, can you elaborate on what is the basis for Guyana to be concerned about the U.S.'s withdrawal? Is it funding? Is it diplomatic support? What is it?
It is a question of the financial support which comes with that into the global community. As you know, the U.S. is a major contributor to these international agreements. I believe that they, along with China and India, were some of the last persons to sign on to it after a very long period of gestation. They eventually signed on to it. But I believe that whatever movement takes place after this, the international community will have to regroup and have a fresh look at the commitments that have been made under the agreement and move forward.
Okay, we have time for three or more. Three more questions. I was going to say 3 or 4, but then it took one.
Suraj Ryan, Kaiser News. Minister Harmon, the local content policy for the oil and gas sector, where are we currently at this moment?
Well, as I said, Minister Trotman and the Ministry of Natural Resources, that they're doing national consultations in all parts of the country. Local content has been part of our policy in the APNU AFC administration. In any foreign engagement, we've insisted on local content. And local content is going to be a major element of whatever agreement we have, whether it be with ESSO, whether it be with Exxon, whether it be with any of the mining companies. That local content, it is our responsibility as a government to ensure that our people benefit in a major way from whatever economic activities taking place by any foreign company that comes to work in this country.
And secondly, sorry, The 2% royalty and the 50% split. Do you think that is the best deal? Do you think, again, I got the best deal from that arrangement?
That's another matter I'm prepared to comment on now. At the appropriate time, once Cabinet would have cogitated on it, then I can get back to you on that.
Mr. Harmon, Andrew Wicks, Headline News. Sir, whatever happened to that investigation into the plot to assassinate the president? Has there been a report? Cabinet has been apprised about it? What is
Well, thank you for that question. The police investigation continues. In fact, what they're looking at now are what they call backward linkages. And I can say to you that it is still a live investigation by the Guyana Police Force. And there have been some other, what I would call subsidiary investigations that are taking place, and some others that will be taking place along the way. And we do not take a threat to the life of His Excellency very lightly, and therefore every area of concern will be addressed. If they are not a matter of the police investigation, they will be the matter of other investigations which will take place.
follow?
Yes.
Would you say now that the president's life is still on the train?
Well, that's another area of great speculation. As I said on the last occasion, our president is a very popular president. And anywhere he goes, people warmly hug him and love him, be it in Guyana or in the diaspora. You've seen all of the pictures. And therefore, it becomes a challenge for the security people to ensure that while our president is embraced by the people, by all of the people of Guyana, be it here or in the diaspora, that they ensure that they put clear security arrangements in place that will protect himself and protect the president, protect his family, protect the prime minister's family, protect the ministers, in fact, protect the people of Guyana from extremism. You recognize that over the last 2 weeks, in fact, the conference in Saudi Arabia, that's what it dealt with, violent extremism. Here at this conference where the president is going to be speaking again in Brussels, we're dealing also again with extremism. Extremism is something that is affecting the world. And it is not very easy for you to put in security processes that will always address these matters. And so I'm also encouraging the members of the media, and in fact, encouraging all of Guyana to always be on the alert. Whenever the president is in any community, you are part of the security mechanism for him.
Could you give us an update on the Norway and the Milo Falls project, the Norway deal and the Milo Falls project? And secondly, recently it was announced that the former Army chief has been named the deputy CEO of the GPHC. Could you say whether due process was followed in this election?
Due process means giving a person the right to be heard. But let me address that. Let me address that because this is a decision made by a board, by the GPHC board, and whatever processes they would have engaged in, I don't want to comment on it, but certainly they would have gone through their process and they would have chosen the best candidate in their view for the job. It was not a situation in which the government or cabinet, for that matter, had any say in it. I'm just like any other Guyanese. When I opened the newspapers, I saw it there, and I would believe that the hospital corporation would have made what is in their view their choice, and if that was the best choice, then so be it. The second one has to do with Norway and Amila Falls. Norway is an agreement. It's an agreement between the Kingdom of Norway and the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And sometimes I don't like this word deal, because when you use the word deal, it presupposes something that is a little unusual or on the hand. There's an agreement between these two states, and the agreement is still in force. The provisions of the agreement, we are actually following that. What I can say to you is that the agreement between the Kingdom of Norway and the Cooperative Republic of Guyana is still in force. In relation to Milo Falls, what I can say to you is that we were presented by the Minister of Public Infrastructure with a public infrastructure plan going forward for Guyana. And that plan envisages the developments in roads, in bridges, in aerodromes, in electricity, in the generation of electricity by the various means, that is by wind, by solar energy, and by hydroelectricity. All of these sources of energy, we do not rule out any of them. That is to say that in the hydroelectricity sector, Milo Falls is still one of the matters that is considered. My understanding from Minister Patterson is that only recently Site Global, which is the company that held the intellectual property rights to that entity, had sold those rights to somebody else. So that there is some movements that are taking place outside of Guyana that is not under our control. But what I want to say is that all of these issues, all of the various, I think 80-something waterfalls that are here in Guyana, we are exploring them, and we will make the best use of these resources at the appropriate time and in the best interest of the Guyanese people.
Recently, Mr. Harmon, you received the report into the Kano COI. Could you tell us when that report would be made public? And can you disclose some of the findings and the recommendations that have been made? And secondly, when Mr. James Singh returns from his leave, is it likely that he will remain the head of Kano?
Well, again, don't let me speculate about likeliness or likelihood of things, but let me comment on the report which I did receive on behalf of His Excellency. That was a report which had been ordered, a commission inquiry which was ordered by the President into the situation which Brigadier Lovell and his commissioners inquired into. I want to publicly acknowledge and thank Brigadier Lovell and the commissioners who worked assiduously on that report and presented it to me on behalf of His Excellency the President. The report, I believe, already Brigadier Lovell has commented on some of the issues that they dealt with. They looked at structure, they looked at personnel, they looked at the passage of information, several issues which affect the way we deal with counter-narcotic operations, several ways. And I believe already, while the recommendations have not all been acknowledged and acted upon, that some of these things have already started to take hold, and you recognize the increased levels of detection of narcotic operations in Guyana, seizures in Guyana, based on good intelligence and follow-up to that intelligence work. We're no longer just hearing that drugs left Guyana and it was found somewhere else. And this is a major change that is taking place. And this is the direction in which we want to go, so that when the US report comes out again next year and the following year, they will have clearly defined actions which were taken by this government. I want to say that the last report which was produced by the US State Department is a very positive report about Guyana, that the government, they said the government is not involved in any way in these practices, these corrupt practices, as it relates to narcotics. And that's very clear. What they've also identified is that we need to take some other steps in some areas, which we've already started taking, so that the report would have already been overtaken by events which are taking place now with the establishment of the National Anti-Narcotic Agency. So insofar as personnel are concerned, there's definitely going to be some adjustments, some changes in the fight against narcotics architecture. There's going to be some changes, and the report, I believe, is pointing in that direction. Well, the report was handed over yesterday. Day before yesterday. Yeah, day before yesterday. The president has to read that, right? And once the president reads it, and he has assimilated what these recommendations are, then certainly you'll be told.
It's one of the
I usually give you.
recommendations from Mr. Singh to go.
Pause that.
It's one of the recommendations from Mr. Singh to go. Can you confirm that?
I cannot confirm that.
Will you deny it?
That's just confirm and denying business. I would not confirm it, Mr.
Thank you
Chair.
very much. When does he, when is his leave supposed to be off?
I can't remember. I think his leave is sanctioned by the Minister of Public Security, and that's where it is right now.
All right, thank you very much, Mr.